Frieren Beyond Journey's End gets a bad rap online not because it's poorly made or shallow, but because it fundamentally clashes with what many anime fans expect storytelling to look and feel like, creating a gap between reputation and experience and often turns admiration into frustration.
Especially when viewers go in expecting an emotionally explosive masterpiece and instead receive something deliberately quiet, restrained, and ambiguous. One of the most common reasons Frieren draws criticism is its pacing, as many fans online describe the series as slow to the point of inertia, arguing that entire episodes pass without clear narrative progression, escalation, or payoff, which can feel alienating in a medium where momentum is often used to maintain engagement. This criticism intensifies when Frieren is compared to other highly praised anime, because viewers expecting dramatic emotional highs or clear turning points instead encounter scenes that resolve through silence and reflection, leaving some feeling emotionally underfed rather than moved. Frieren herself is another major source of contention, as her subdued personality and minimal emotional expression make it difficult for certain viewers to connect with her as a protagonist, leading to online debates about whether her development is genuinely subtle or simply too understated to register, especially across long stretches of the story where change is implied rather than shown. This sense of emotional distance extends to the supporting cast as well, with fans arguing that characters like Fern and Stark often feel underdeveloped or emotionally secondary, functioning more as extensions of Frieren's perspective than as fully realized individuals with arcs that actively challenge the narrative. Another reason Frieren gets a bad rap is its reliance on implication over explanation, as the series frequently presents themes of grief, memory, and mortality without clearly articulating its stance, leaving interpretation entirely up to the audience. A choice that some viewers find profound and others find frustratingly vague. Confusion becomes a recurring theme in online discussions, with fans admitting they are unsure what certain scenes are meant to accomplish, or whether they missed important emotional beats, which can create the impression that Frieren is inaccessible or emotionally closed off rather than deep. The anime's episodic structure also contributes to its mixed reception, as its travel-focused storytelling and frequent time skips can make the narrative feel fragmented, especially for viewers who prefer goal-oriented plots with clear stakes and progression. This fragmentation is compounded by the lack of sustained conflict, as Frieren often avoids high-tension scenarios or dramatic confrontations, causing some fans to feel that the series lacks urgency, and that episodes blur together without leaving a lasting impact. Even Frieren's strongest elements, such as its animation, music, and atmosphere, are sometimes cited as part of the problem, with critics arguing that the exceptional production quality can mask narrative thinness and discourage meaningful critique by framing dissatisfaction as a failure of patience or maturity rather than a legitimate response to the storytelling style. This dynamic has fueled defensive fandom discourse, where criticism is often met with claims that Frieren isn't for everyone, which, while true, can feel dismissive to viewers whose concerns stem from narrative engagement rather than a lack of appreciation for subtlety. Ultimately, Frieren gets a bad rap because it asks its audience to engage differently than most anime, prioritizing emotional accumulation over immediate payoff, observation over action, and ambiguity over clarity. And while that approach deeply resonates with some viewers, it leaves others feeling disconnected, uncertain, or unsatisfied, ensuring that Frieren Beyond Journey's End remains one of the most divisive yet widely discussed anime in recent years, not because it fails at what it attempts, but because what it attempts challenges the limits of how much quiet storytelling a mainstream audience is willing to embrace. And this divide becomes even more visible when examining how Frieren's reputation online has evolved from quiet gem to cultural benchmark. Because once an anime is labeled a masterpiece, expectations shift from personal resonance to universal appeal. And Frieren struggles under that weight as fans who don't emotionally connect feel gaslit by the overwhelming praise. Many online critics argue that the series' themes are repeatedly stated but rarely interrogated, with ideas like the passage of time, regret, and mortality presented as self-evident truths rather than challenged concepts, leading some viewers to feel that the anime relies too heavily on atmosphere to carry meaning without pushing its philosophy further. This feeds into another common frustration, which is the perception that Frieren's emotional restraint is treated as inherently superior storytelling, creating an unspoken hierarchy where louder, more expressive anime are dismissed as shallow by comparison, even though restraint alone does not guarantee depth. Fans online frequently point out that moments meant to feel profound can come across as emotionally distant if the viewer does not already resonate with Frieren's internal logic, making the experience feel less like shared reflection and more like quiet observation from the outside. The issue is compounded by Frieren's long lifespan, which, while central to the narrative, also creates a disconnect for some viewers who struggle to empathize with stakes that feel abstract rather than immediate, especially when loss is framed as something already accepted rather than actively mourned. This emotional pre-processing can make dramatic moments feel muted, causing fans to question whether the anime is asking them to feel something or simply to acknowledge it intellectually. Another recurring complaint online involves the lack of narrative friction, as Frieren rarely faces situations that force her beliefs into crisis, resulting in growth that feels incremental to the point of invisibility, which some fans interpret as realism and others see as stagnation. As these critiques circulate, they clash with the anime's overwhelmingly positive critical reception, creating a backlash effect where dissatisfaction intensifies not because the anime worsens, but because dissent feels increasingly unwelcome. This tension fuels harsher language in online spaces where slow becomes boring, and subtle becomes empty, and quiet becomes lifeless, exaggerating flaws in response to what critics perceive as inflated praise. In this way, Frieren's bad rap is not born solely from its content, but from the cultural conversation surrounding it, where expectation, hype, and defensiveness collide, transforming a thoughtful, introspective series into a lightning rod for debates about what anime should be, who it's for, and whether emotional subtlety should be treated as the ultimate marker of quality, ensuring that Frieren Beyond Journey's End continues to provoke discussion not because it fails its audience, but because it exposes how divided that audience truly is.